Alright, going up.
Welcome back to another episode of Exploring Shasta County History. I'm your host, Jeremy M. Tuggle. On today's episode, we are exploring one of Shasta County's small cemeteries. At this location, there are 5 graves in total here, but only 3 of the 5 headstones remain, with their foot markers to view.
Yeah, we're getting closer. Alright, dude.
This cemetery is located on BLM land and is often ignored by people utilizing the Upper Sacramento Ditch Trail at the end of Walker Mine Road. Most people who have used this trail at this location for outdoor recreational purposes are unaware of the fact that this small cemetery is nearby them. Join Robert Frazier, host of California Unearthed, and I, while we document the history of the small, abandoned, and truly lost to time cemetery, which we had to bushwhack through the manzanita, poison oak, and brush to get to.
Right, guys, we are here. It's the Brown Cemetery.
Jacob Strawn Brown was the first burial in the cemetery. Brown was born on January 31st, 1852, to Jubil Brown, Jubil, and Mary Ann Wing Brown in Morgan County, Illinois. Later on, the 1860 U.S. Census records him as residing in the household of P.W. Siemens, a local farmer at Rock Creek in Nemaha County, Kansas, at the age of 4, while his parents were relocating to Richardson County, Nebraska. The 1870 U.S. Census records Jacob as being reunited with his parents on his father's farm in Falls City, Richardson County, Nebraska, at the age of 18 years old, while assisting his father on the family farm. In Falls City, Richardson County, Nebraska, Jacob Strawn Brown married Elizabeth Jane Campbell on February 6, 1879. The newlyweds then relocated to Rio La Plata in Colorado, where the Browns acquired 160 acres of farmland. It was a promising start for them at that location. Between the years 1879 and 1895, Elizabeth Jane Campbell Brown bore her husband Jacob Strawn Brown 8 children during their union. During the interim years, the 1880 U.S. Census noted Jacob at the age of 28 years old and living as a farmer in Rio La Plata. Eventually, he began to pick up experience as a miner and a railroad worker in the area as well, which eventually made the Brown family relocate from Colorado for Forest Grove, Oregon. It appears that the Jacob Strawn Brown family arrived and settled in Shasta County, California sometime prior to 1895. When Brown's daughter, Mary Jane Brown, was united in marriage to George Hall, a local laborer of the town of Buckeye. The 1898 Shasta County Great Register documents Jacob S. Brown living in the town site of White House, which was a neighboring town of Old Diggings, also known as Hart. It was situated in the Old Diggings mining district of Shasta County. Some of his children were young enough to attend the local schoolhouse at Old Diggings, where they continued their education. Jacob eventually returned to Forest Grove, Oregon, and while he was there, he was one of the unlucky 1,200 men who caught the influenza virus and died from it on June 23, 1899. Originally, it was thought he was buried in a mass burial site in Forest Grove dedicated to those who lost their lives during that influenza pandemic, but that's not the case because he is buried here in this small, lost, and abandoned cemetery, which bears his surname. To make things more interesting, a secondary belief was that he was buried at another small cemetery in Hat Creek in Shasta County, along with other members of this cemetery in this video who are buried here. Yet it's been known that none of them had a headstone to prove that fact until now. Whatever the case may be, the history is now proven that the body of Jacob Strawn Brown brought back to Shasta County, California, to be buried here, as we now have proof of his headstone and foot marker. George L. Brown was born to Jacob Strawn Brown and Elizabeth Jane Campbell Brown in October of 1885 in Hesperus, La Plata County, Colorado. He was the fourth of 8 children born to them. By the age of 14 years old, George was living in Bernie Valley Township in eastern Shasta County, California, which was part of the Big Bend precinct. This is where he was employed as a wood chopper according to the 1900 U.S. Census. His birth date is documented in the 1900 U.S. Census as October of 1885, yet on his headstone it is etched on it that he was born in 1886. So there is some discrepancy there, as you'll notice the above. The etching of George's death date on his headstone is an error. He didn't die in 1902, as Robert Frazier and I have researched this man and found out that he had died in 1903. Newspaper accounts within the local media outlets of Shasta County, which verifies his death as taking place on June 1st, 1903, at Keswick, in the Mountain Copper Company's hospital from the effects of his injuries, which he sustained at the Iron Mountain Mine on May 27th. When one of the Mountain Copper Company's rather large ore bunkers were being filled from above. A large rock weighing 50 pounds fell on top of Brown from approximately 15 feet above, striking him on the head and fracturing his skull, which rendered him unconscious. He was attended by Reading physician Dr. George A. Sevenman and was rushed to the hospital in Keswick, where he eventually died. About 3 months prior to Brown's death, George had contracted the measles, and once he recovered from the measles, he came back to work and lost 3 of his fingers in an accident at the mine. Clarence Wade Hall was grandson of Jacob Strawn Brown and Elizabeth Campbell Brown, and a nephew of George L. Brown, who Clarence is buried next to in the small cemetery. Clarence Wade Brown was the son of George Washington Hall and Mary Jane Brown Hall, who settled at Buckeye. He was born to them in 1896 and died young at the age of 8 years old, 1904. This cemetery was established circa 1898. There are 2 additional Brown family burials at this abandoned cemetery as well, which may predate the deaths on the 3 headstones and make the cemetery older than it is. This site is not a memorial. This is a true documented cemetery, abandoned, lost through time, which rarely gets any visitors from the nearby Upper Sacramento Ditch Trail System off Walker Mine Road.
And now this is truly a lost, without the coordinates from Bureau of Land Management, but a lost to time, abandoned cemetery. And you caught it here in collaboration with California Unearthed on Exploring Shasta County History. If you haven't yet, please smash the like button on both mine and Robert's YouTube channels. Subscribe, like, follow, share, comment, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you for watching.